That's like the wildest thing I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah.
Even sea lions or dolphins are trained to find these mines. What was the process in you becoming from someone who barely could catch a ball to playing for the Navy?
I didn't know anything. I knew what football was. I generally knew positions, but I didn't even really know all the positions in football. I'm like, oh my God, this is terrible. There was a certain point in the season I almost wanted to just quit football and be like, you know what, let me go focus on track. My passion for cars and racing started probably when I was about 5 years older.
So you were watching Emmitt Smith growing up, I guess, right? Around the time as a Hall of Famer NFL player. You ended up landing a business partnership with him. Yeah.
No cars got seriously damaged. I did get penalized though.
Can you talk about like how you were able to secure funding and how you were able to get sponsors?
Like I'm not, some mega billionaire where I can just go, donate billions of dollars, but like I have something that I'm at and I'm doing that not a lot of people can get to. So I'm finding ways to carve some of it out and be able to give it to people or give them a chance to experience it just like me. And I'll keep doing that, as much as I can every single year, wherever I can.
Jesse, thanks for making the drive. First of all, it's quite a hike up in LA, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, driving through Southern California, traffic is happening all times of the day and night. Originally I'm from Texas, so in Texas, like before 6 a.m., you usually don't see really much at all. And then, in the evening for sure, after, obviously rush hour, it's not much. But here in SoCal, it is from basically at least 3:30 to 4 a.m. or so, all the way till almost the same time again. It's just all. I've come back from the airport one time, landed in LAX, and then trying to drive, and 1 a.m. It's still traffic, and I'm like, well, it's 1 a.m. Like, does California go to sleep? It's crazy.
Yeah, no, Southern California. The benefit of living in Southern California, obviously, is we have nice weather, and we get stuck in traffic with. We look at our phones and see how the rest of the country is getting battered with snow, right? So that's living.
Snowstorms are happening. It's hot. Like I was driving here. I'm like, why am I like sweating right now? And it's February. Like, this doesn't even make sense.
Yeah.
So we didn't really have a crazy winter here this year at all. Like, it was a lot of 80. Now we had a couple little cold spurts with some rain. It's a little bit of snow, but all that snow that just occurred is gone now. It's just melted.
Yeah. Jesse, again, a fascinating story. I came across your profile actually on LinkedIn, and I checked out the stuff that you obviously posted there. So you started playing football, right? You played for the Navy.
Yep, played. Yep.
And then you went for your deployment multiple times, right? And then you became a NASCAR driver, which is again, it's and then after that, again, you continue to be an entrepreneur. So please leave some professions for us as well. But so let's kind of go back, okay? Just fascinating. So your parents came from Nigeria originally, settled in Texas. Can you talk about a little bit of that, the childhood, like how it was, and talk us through that a little bit?
Yeah, so both of my parents, they immigrated from Nigeria to the States back in the early 80s. My dad came first. I think he got here in like 1980 or so, something like that. And he first came into the country, I believe, through like New York or something like that. And, I think he had some family friends or something up there. And I think he stayed with them for a little bit before deciding to go to Texas and settle in Texas. And for those who are in Texas, they all know that there's tons of West Africans in Texas, mainly Dallas and Houston, and, some of the other cities, but like mainly those two places. So he settled in Dallas, where there was a lot of Nigerians there. And he decided that he needed to get his education, of course, right? Because that was the whole point of coming to the U.S., to like better his life and his future family's life. So getting his education was everything, because in Nigeria, the opportunities just aren't as much. They're not as good either. Whatever you get in Nigeria, you can get something even better here. So that's why many come, right? So that they can chase bigger and better dreams and opportunities. Not that there isn't anything in Nigeria, there is, but there's just even more here. So he got his education. I think he went to Texas A&M Commerce, and got his education, got his bachelor's, did all that. I think he was about to try to go to law school. And then all of a sudden he decided that he wanted to marry my mom, who was in Nigeria. So, went back, got her, brought her back here, all that, had me. And then I think once he had me, it was like, just with life and how busy it was, the whole law school thing wasn't going to work. So he decided to kind of put that dream away and just continue to work hard. My mom, she continued to grind and work hard herself as well. And, she went from being a hotel maid, right, to becoming a nurse. She got her education, became a nurse, and continued to work her way through that whole ladder, and built her life, and eventually became an entrepreneur as well. Started multiple businesses, now has multiple properties and still multiple businesses. She's all over the place. She's such a hard worker. Dad, same thing. He's had businesses and stuff. He's worked different jobs, all that. So they've all worked hard to make sure that we had a decent life here, and that we had better provisions than they did when they were in Nigeria. And yeah, me and my two brothers and my sister, I'm the oldest, we grew up in Texas, and in Texas, that's football country, right? Like everything we do is football. So that's why naturally I gravitated towards that. I did like racing. I did like cars. Used to watch shows like Knight Rider with David Hasselhoff, and I used to watch, little cartoons like Speed Racer and some of the other stuff, play all the video games, you name it. And all that stuff really attracted me towards cars. But at that time, I didn't think there was possibilities or opportunities for me to do anything in a car world at that time. It just wasn't a thing, but football was. And that's why I decided to start pursuing it.
Again, I stalked your LinkedIn profile, by the way. Okay, so there was one post where you talk about, you kind of mentioned you weren't that great initially when you were playing football, right? So you were someone who could not really judge the flight of the ball.
Couldn't catch a ball to save my life. I didn't know how to really play, all that stuff.
So how'd you from that until you made it to the Navy football team, which is a big deal. How did that transition come about? Obviously, that spanned over a few years for sure. But what was the process in you becoming from someone who barely could catch a ball to playing for the Navy?
Yeah, so trying to put myself in a position to be able to get to my goals, which was playing college football, it wasn't easy, right? So I started playing football in 7th grade, right? I didn't play Little League football. I didn't play Pop Warner, which a lot of kids do when they're 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old. They're playing Little League stuff, and they're gaining experience there, learning the positions, learning different kind of plays, learning how to tackle, catch, throw, whatever their position is. They're learning a lot at an early age, which helps you so much once you get a little bit older, because everything that you can learn as a little kid, it just exponentially makes you better as you grow up. Even in the car world too, for racing, like kids who start racing when they're 5, 6, 7, 8 years old have a huge leg up above people who start later in life, like I did. So I started in 7th grade, which once again, I wasn't crazy old, but I definitely was behind by a few years from a lot of my teammates. And I didn't know anything. I knew what football was. I generally knew positions, but I didn't even really know all the positions in football. And I was tasked to play running back on offense and then free safety on defense. I had no clue what a free safety was, and I barely knew what a running back was. So I remember I got home one day and I told my dad, hey, these are the positions I'm playing. Who plays those positions in the NFL so I can watch it on TV and learn. And he pointed to Emmitt Smith as one of those players, because at that time, this is in 99 when I started playing. And obviously he's still playing for the Cowboys at that time. So I'm watching him, and then I'm watching some of the defensive players, and I'm seeing so I'm like, okay, these are the places I play, and I'm trying to learn it. And then I started looking to, okay, what kind of skills do I even have for football? I was fast, right? I had pretty good speed. Luckily, my parents passed those genes on to me, and but that was it. I didn't understand how to really catch a football the right way. Like, how do you place your hands? How do you lock your eyes in on where you're supposed? All that stuff. I just didn't understand it, so I was terrible. And 7th grade, I was on the B team, but I still started on the B team at running back. I could at least run the ball. I was fast. 8th grade, I was on the B team again, and then going into 9th grade, my mom told me, "It's like, hey, if you don't make the A team, maybe look at some other sports or something like that." And I was like, no. I have this goal now to go play college football. I have to make the A team, and I have to make this work. And I just prayed and prayed and prayed every single day. She gave me this prayer booklet, and that's the first time that's the first time I remember myself ever truly praying. Was then. That's when it started, and I was just like, God, please, just help me get to where I want to go, right? I'm trying to become this football player, this great football player, but I need help. And I just prayed, but then worked really, really hard. And even though I still couldn't catch very well and all that stuff, I still made the A team. I started on defense as a corner, and then wide receiver, I was 2nd or 3rd string or something like that. So that kind of helped me at least get that going. And then after that, First season happens, my 9th grade year. I get through that first year. I actually had 2 interceptions for a guy who couldn't catch at all. I had 2 interceptions, so that was cool. But after that, I knew if I wanted to really take the next step and be better and start on offense and defense for the next year on JV, which was where I was going to move up to, I had to be better. So then I was just constantly researching and asking people and just trying to figure out, how do I learn how to catch the football better, right? And then somebody gave me this tip. I don't even know who it was, but they gave me this tip. They're like, hey, every single night before you go to sleep, grab a football with one hand and throw it up and catch it. Just lay on your back, throw it up, a few feet in the air and catch it with one hand, with the right hand. Do that 100 times. And then switch to the other hand, throw it with your left hand. Don't throw it with your right. Throw it with your left and catch it with your left 100 times. And I'm right-handed. So the right-handed one wasn't too hard. The left-handed one was a little bit tougher, but I got better. And by doing that basically 200 times every single night, I was training the muscle memory for my hands to be able to catch a football. And the reason why it's important to catch it with one hand and then I also would do 100 catches with 2 hands right after I was done doing the one each. But the reason why it's so important to do with one, it trains the muscle memory. It builds your muscles in your forearms as well and in your hands so that you can grip the ball better, because that's everything. When the football gets to you, you got to be able to snag that thing, right? You can't just let it fall into your hands. You got to go grab that thing. So like it helps you grip it in the right ways and get that muscle memory of feeling it and under your brain understanding how to hold on to it once it gets to your hand, how to also have some touch as well. If you throw it up and you leave your hand all the way extended and you try to catch like that, you still can, but it's like hitting this hard plate, and there's a chance it could bounce off. So you learn that, if I just keep my hand super stiff, there's no spring to help it. So then I learned how to have a little bit of touch. When it came down, I was getting softer at catching it, soft hands. That's why you hear wide receivers, they always say soft hands, right? You can't have hard, stale hands. They'll drop everything, but you got a soft hand, so you have that spring. So I was learning that every single night, and I did that for a few years, and each year that I was doing, I was constantly getting better and better and better. Going into my second year in football in high school, that allowed me to eventually start at wide receiver because I could now catch the ball. I ended up having 2 or 3 touchdowns that year, receiving. One of them was like a deep one. Another one, I can't remember but I just had a few touchdowns, which was great. I had more receptions than I ever had in my first year, and I was way better at wide receiver. I'm like, oh my God, this helped. On defense, I believe I had some interceptions too. I can't remember. And then this helped me to where at the end of my sophomore year, when the varsity team went to the playoffs, they moved me up to varsity to go travel with the playoff because they knew that the very next year I was going to be on varsity. So like for me, I was like on my way, and that was the grind that I put in. Also too, I was kind of really skinny dude, so I was like trying to put on weight. So then I was doing a lot of push-ups and stuff. Every single night I was doing 100 push-ups, 100 calf raisers, 100 sit-ups, 100 everything, just to try to get bigger, stronger. I was working out super hard in the gym when we were doing our off-season workouts. I was just doing everything I could to do more than everyone, right? I figured if I do 100 of every one of these things, I'm doing 100 more than everyone else. By the end of the week, I've done 700 more of all these things of everyone else. By the end of the month, I've done, 100 times 30, I was doing that much more than everyone else. So then by each year, I was always surpassing people and continuing to separate myself to become, I wouldn't say I was like an elite athlete by the time I was a senior, but I was in a position to become a Division 1A football player. So for high school standards, somewhat elite.
Yeah. So your parents being from Nigeria, did they try force football or soccer to you? They had to, right?
So
no?
Yeah, my dad, he played soccer when he was in, when he was a kid and in high school and everything. And he was, from what he tells me, he was really good. And I think he was, because like there would be little things he would do with a soccer ball that I was like, whoa, that's pretty good.
Let me tell you one thing. Like, I don't think I've ever met any Nigerian who has not been good at soccer.
Yeah.
So most likely he's right.
Yeah. Like well, we would go like play basketball or something, and then he'd grab the basketball, and then he'd like use his 2 feet and flip it up behind him, and then start like bouncing it on his head, and then hit it and like make a free throw. Yeah. And I'm like, what the heck? I'm like, okay, Ronaldo. But yeah, he was good. He was good.
So going back to the football side of things, so obviously you won games like Navy. I mean, there's always this game of Navy,
Army, Navy,
Navy.
Air Force, Navy, Notre Dame, Navy,
and you beat them, right? Like most of
we've beaten every single one of them. Some of them 4 times, some of them 2 times.
So I know obviously you want to get to the NFL stage, and one of the disappointing thing was probably the call, which you probably were hoping that would call you'd get that call. You never got that. How disappointing was that, or did you see it as a disappointment, or how did that come about? Like, how did that work out for you?
Yeah, so first goal was to get to college and play Division I college sports. That was my first goal. I made that happen, got to Division I-A, and I was like, okay, I'm here, and I'm going to go play. And then the next thing was like, okay, now I need to start, right? So my first year, I was on the travel squad and traveling with the varsity squad in college. And I played in a few games, just kind of backup role. But then going into sophomore year, I'm like, hey, this is my time now. And I ended up starting. I started the first part of the season until I got hurt. And but when I started, I was like, okay, I'm a sophomore about to start in college football. This is crazy. I was like, that means I'm probably going to start in my junior year, start my senior year. I'm gonna make all these plays. I'm going to be good. And maybe I'll put myself in a position to maybe make the NFL. And then it just didn't go that way. We go through the first few games. Basically the first 6 games of my sophomore year, and it was a lot of turmoil with our team. We were up and down. We had some good games, bad games. We were kind of, I forget what our final record was at the end of the year. We wound up on 7 or 8 games or so, but it was just so up and down. Our offense was good some games, not good some games. Our defense was good some games, terrible some games. So we were all over, and we were very young. Most of our team, at least on the defensive side, was sophomores and freshmen with maybe 1 or 2 seniors and juniors. We were very young, which was great for the following year because we had a lot more experience. But that first year, it was tough. So, I started in the first few games, and then I had a game that just didn't do so well. So then I moved to the second string role, but I still was playing. I just was second string at safety, and then I moved to nickel back, and I was playing sparingly on passing downs. And then I started again on another game. So it was just back and forth, and it just wasn't going my way. And then I got hurt. I ended up rolling my ankle really bad, and I was out for basically majority of the season until the last few games. And by that point, somebody else had stepped in and started playing, and they were doing pretty good. And when I came back, he was the one. So then I was once again playing in a reserve role again, playing here and there, but not much. Going into junior year, going into spring football of my sophomore year, I was like, okay, here's my chance to go take my spot back and be a starter again. We go in there, and then I tear my tricep tendon. And I was like, oh my God. So I tear my tricep tendon. I'm out of spring football now. I have an injury that's going to have me out for 2 or 3 months. And I'm like, this is terrible. Now going into junior year, I'm not even going to be anywhere near being a starter. I'm still probably second string, but I'm not going to be a starter, but probably still play a little bit. Go into my junior year. We go into training camp for junior year. I'm like, okay, time to go. And we go in there. I'm not having a good training camp. And then I get hurt again. I pull a hamstring. So I'm out most of training camp. And then I fall back from second to maybe third string or so. And then during the year, I'm playing here and there, but not much. And I'm like, this is terrible. And then at some point, I wasn't even traveling with the travel squad anymore. I'm like, oh my God, this is terrible. There was a certain point in the season, I almost wanted to just quit football and be like, you know what, let me go focus on track. Because I was actually getting better at track. So then track that year as a junior, I did really, really good, an indoor track, until once again I pulled my hamstring again and I was out. So then going into junior year spring football before the senior season, I slowly got a little bit better, but it wasn't a good spring football. My mind wasn't there. I wasn't focused, and I just wasn't doing what I needed to do. I just wasn't playing well. So going into senior year, I was lowest on the depth chart that I'd ever been. I was 3rd or 4th string. And I was like, I've never been this low. Even when I was a freshman and wasn't even playing that much, I was still always kind of second or so, or almost right there. I was I think 4th or so. And I'm like, oh my God, this is terrible. But then I was like, you know what? I was trying to knuckle down and just grind my way back up. I've been a starter before. I can get back there, or at least close. And I grinded my way. I had a great training camp and moved from 4th all the way back up to 2nd. I wasn't going to start because the 2 guys ahead of me were just doing really well. I got up to 2nd, but in a position where I was going to play. We go into the first game against Ohio State. I played a lot of that game. And then the rest of the season just kept playing, in my reserve role. It wasn't a starter anymore. And then by the end of it, I'm like, yeah, this whole NFL dream, I don't think this is going to happen.
Okay. So chronologically, I'm trying to piece this together. So you were in college, and obviously the NFL thing didn't work out. So you decided to enlist for the Navy, or how did that come about?
So I went to the Naval Academy. We make a commitment that after we graduate, we're going to do 5 years of service. Now, if you do get recruited to go, get drafted or something to go into the NFL, NBA, whatever it is, a lot of times you can work out a deal with the Navy where maybe you can go into the reserves instead, and then you do your commitment in the NFL, wherever, and then after that you go finish up your Navy commitment. Like they work deals with some people.
Oh, I see.
Some people they don't. Every year is different, right? This year it might be one way, the next year is something different. It just depends who's the department, who's the who's Secretary of the Navy and all that stuff. They're the ones who kind of make those decisions. So for me, obviously NFL wasn't going to happen. So I was like, okay, well, next thing is I'm going into the military now, right? Like I'm going to go do at least 5 years. So I decided to be a surface warfare officer, and I decided to be on the ships. The ships are what surface warfare officers do.
Before we go into that, so I do want to ask you this question. So the classification within the Navy itself, right? There's different sectors. So you have the underwater, and you have the surface, and you have the aviation, right? So
and you have special operations too.
So okay, no submarines for you.
Yeah, I wasn't going to be on a submarine. I did not want to be on a tin can underwater with nuclear power right behind my head at all times. I didn't want to be on that. And it just, with their mission and what they were doing, it just didn't fit the lifestyle I wanted to live, right? Like I still wanted to have a fun and interesting civilian life outside of my military life. I didn't want the military to be everything I did, right? I love being in the military. I love serving. I love doing all that stuff. But I have two different identities. I have one as the military me and one as the civilian me. And I always made sure to make sure there was two. I see that a lot of people sometimes they join the military to find themselves. And then when they find themselves, they make themselves into this military person, but they don't have anything else outside of that. So then when they leave, it's almost like they're lost. Like, because we can't stay in the military forever. At some point, no matter how much you love the military, you're either going to get too old and they're going to kick you out or whatever. But like we can't stay in forever, so you can't just be the military guy. So for me, I always had two separate lives, which ended up helping me in the future.
Okay. And when was your first deployment?
So my first deployment I had was in 2012. It was in January, February or so, 2012. Was out there for about 10 months or so, out in the Arabian Gulf. And that was my first time deploying and being away from family, friends, in the United States for a very long time. I basically lived out there, and it was cool. We were in Bahrain. It wasn't bad, it took a little bit of adjusting to get used to, but after about, first few weeks, a month goes by, you're like, I'm here. Like, I'm not going back anytime soon. I'm here, and I'm just going to live with it. And you make friends, you learn things, you learn where the fun places are, cool things to do. And like I said, Bahrain's not bad. I'm sure it's even better now. But it wasn't bad. I learned a lot, and I saved a lot of money too.
Okay. One of the wildest things I've ever learned, probably, Jesse, till I found out this thing. So you were on a minesweeper. I found out that even sea lions or dolphins are trained to find these mines. This is like the wildest thing I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that a little bit? Like how does that work?
Yeah, so it's dolphins, right? They EOD, so it's Explosive Ordnance Disposal Unit. They will train dolphins and other sea mammals. I don't know which other ones. They train them to help them find mines and dispose of mines. Why? Because if anything went wrong, which would be terrible, right? We don't want to lose these animals, but if something went wrong, you're not losing a human, right? So, but obviously we don't want anything to happen. They're not like disposable, right? Like it's just,
right.
If somebody has to do it, right? They have way better senses than we do. They're a lot quicker underwater. Like if something happened, a dolphin can get away, or if something's about to happen, a dolphin can probably sense it and get away way quicker than a human could. If I'm out there, and I'm not EOD, but if I was out there and I was EOD and I'm trying to do whatever, put a bomblet on something, do this and that, all of a sudden something's going wrong, I need to get away. I'm not gonna be able to swim away. Like a dolphin can, boom, jet out of there,
right?
And they just sense things better, right? That's their domain, So that's their domain isn't land. We can do things better on land than they can, but underwater, that's their home. They know what to do, so they can figure. Yeah, so the EOD they use dolphins, and it's interesting.
So the dolphins would recognize, like, let's say there's a dormant mine or whatever it is, right? What's the typical way of them communicating back to you? Like they usually would place like some sort of a marker. I don't know how that would work out. Like how do they do that?
Yeah, so I've never personally worked with them, right? I just generally kind of understand what they do. But yeah, EOD works with the dolphins. They use them to dispose of any type of explosives that they find out there in the water. And I'm sure there's some process, through a lot of training that they do to be able to communicate with them. Obviously, they're not just speaking, normal spoken language to them, but there's probably signals and different things. Dolphin sees a particular bit of equipment and it understands what to do with that equipment. Hey, use this equipment and go here and check this out or do this. They know. So how they do that exactly, I don't know.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm sure there's some probably National Geographic video out there on it. I don't know.
So you were on the Minesweeper mission though, right?
Yeah, I was on a Minesweep. Yep.
So how did that come? Was that assigned to you, or did you have an option to go into different things and you just chose that?
So at the Naval Academy, once you choose that you want to become a surface warfare officer and you're accepted into that community, at that point, we do this thing. It's almost like the NFL draft, right? Where depending on how good your grades are, where you are as your class standing and stuff, we start, top of the class gets to pick first, bottom of the class last. And then we get to select what ship and what ship location we want to go to, duty station. So for me, wherever I was ranked or whatever, when it finally got to my turn, there was only a few spots left in California. And I was like, I want to go to California so bad. Like, I don't want to be on the East Coast anymore. I like the weather and stuff. So there's 3 minesweepers available. So I was like, okay, those are my only ones. And a lot of people sometimes talk down on the minesweepers. They're like, oh, they're not like the destroyers or cruisers or whatever. I'm like, I don't care. I just need to get to California. I'm not going to go to Norfolk, Virginia, or wherever else just because of a particular ship. Location is more important to me because I'm gonna live some of my life with the ship, but the rest of my life I'm living on land. So I need to be somewhere where I enjoy. And I was tired of cold, dark, snowy winters on the East Coast. I was done with that. I needed to be in the warmth. So and during that time it was cold. When you're picking these, it's like February outside. So it's like you go outside and it's like, dang, it's freaking cold as crap, So decided to go to San Diego, and Minesweep was the only thing available for me to do that.
Okay. And how many deployments did you have altogether?
So total during my active duty time, I was active duty for 7 years. I did 2 different deployments. First one was for about 10 months, and then the second one was about 5 months. The deployment was longer than that, but I had to transition to my next unit, and so I had to leave the ship early. I had to leave basically right before they were on their tail end of coming back home. I left there. So we basically did everything we were supposed to do, and I did all that stuff.
Okay. So. In your entire that career that you had with the deployment, what's the craziest thing that you saw or experienced?
Craziest thing on the deployments, our run-in with other countries.
Okay.
Which I can't really get into all the details on those, but
right.
Those were the most interesting thing, because for me, I'm like, whoa, like that's another country that doesn't like us, and we're out here and they're out here. They got guns, we got guns, we got weapons, they got weapons. Like this is
something like happened, and
well,
right.
usually nothing happens,
right?
But every once in a while some things do. That was it. There's some other stuff that we've been part of that have been very interesting too. But yeah, it's you're out there in the water, in the ocean, and for a long time it just seems like it's only you until there's not. And then you see someone else and you're like, man, and all the ocean and the entire world, if you think about how much water, the earth is covered 2/3 with water. And to still be able to see other people and ships and things and craft and vessels, it's kind of interesting. It's like, man, all this water and I'm still running into people. It's pretty wild. But out there in the ocean, you do see a lot of things, right? A lot. It's beautiful. It can be quiet, and it can be very a lot of stuff can happen. And you definitely learn to respect nature and the forces of the ocean and how powerful and how little you really are with the ocean. Like, people don't understand it. When you're out there in the deep water, like it's obviously way more powerful than us, and it can do anything it wants to do.
yeah, sure. So you also had a responsibility in maneuvering the ships.
Yeah, I
right?
drove the ships. Yeah.
So how does that? Obviously it's not driving like a car or like a big vehicle, but it's you're drifting in, like, the water's moving,
constantly
right?
moving. Yeah.
So what's the challenge regarding that?
that's one of the biggest challenges right there. You're constantly moving. So like in a car, you press the gas and you hit the brake, you'll go and then you'll stop. Like you're in one place. You're not constantly moving. But on the ships, no matter what, even if you're like not, you no more rudder in it, no more engines, whatever, you are still constantly moving. So trying to keep a big ship in one place. Like my first ship was a minesweep, which was about 200 feet long. But then the amphib was like 600 plus feet long. So massive ship, and you're trying to keep this thing moving in the right direction and not hit anything, especially when you're doing underway replenishments or you're pulling alongside to, pull into a pier or whatever. There's all these things, these evolutions we're doing, and the whole goal is don't hit anything. Like you cannot hit anything, because if you do, you get fired. And it's all bad. But it's not easy driving the ships. We practice on ship simulators before we get out there to the big multi-million, billion-dollar ships.
And docking is not the easiest job in the world.
It's one of the toughest ones, because you are pulling in next to a pier, and in the channel as you're going there, right, there's way more traffic. So when you hear of collisions of different ships and stuff like that, a lot of times it's happening near these ports, because that's where all the traffic's at, right? Everyone's kind of sitting there. It's similar to, on the highway, there's X amount of traffic, right? And on your way going from state to state on the long interstate highways, there's not much traffic, right? When you get into a denser city where you're trying to get to, there's way more people, right? When you get to a parking lot in a shopping center, there's even more people. There's much more going on. So it's a similar type of thing. When you're trying to get to where everyone's trying to go, that's where everyone is. So there's a lot more risk of hitting people and things. And then when you're pulling next to the pier, if you come in too fast, you'll hit the pier. And when I say too fast, I'm not saying like, 10 knots, 10 miles per hour. I'm talking about like even coming into the pier at like three knots or something. If you're coming in and you're not slowing down, you will slam into that pier and it will do some damage, maybe even get someone hurt.
I mean, I can't obviously relate to that, but even like sometimes when you get into these small ferries and when they're about to dock, you can kind of see like the last 5 seconds when they're about to dock. You can kind of see the momentum. Right?
Yeah. And that's just a small little ferry. Imagine a 600-foot long ship, that's like, it's massive. You're pulling that in. Even like I said, like you're pulling in and you're keeping your lateral knots like very, very minimal, because it just needs to slowly creep, because even going like this is too fast. You will boom. And I mean, it will be what looks like it's not that fast. The momentum behind all the weight and the tonnage hitting something solid, it can do some damage.
Okay. So your deployment, Jesse, so 2012, right? And then, so 2013 was when your NASCAR, like you started to race. So I want to talk about that. So while, this entire, your childhood and football and deployment, so was there an avid interest in racing? Like did you have that like on the side? Were you thinking about that all the time, or did it click one day, like maybe in 2012? How did that come about?
So my passion for cars and racing started probably when I was about 5 years old or so. Maybe even earlier than that. Honestly, probably like 3 or 4 years old is when my passion for cars started, right? I was watching these shows on TV and I was developing this passion. As I started growing up a little bit more, got into, let's say, around 1998, 9 or so, different video games were coming out that were a lot better than the older video games. You had Gran Turismo 2, you have Need for Speed 2, Underground, all these games started coming out in that kind of 98 to 2006 time frame. And then the movies like Fast and the Furious, the second Fast and the Furious movie, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, all these movies, stuff on TV and then games all coming out in that kind of 5, 6, 7, 8 year time frame. And then I'm really starting to like gravitate towards cars because of it. And I'm like, I really like cars. And then when you like cars, usually you'll like racing too. So I'm watching all this stuff. I'm like, man, this is so cool. But once again, never thought I could do it because I had to focus on football. Like that was my big thing. So I'm in school, I'm playing football, and then, I'm getting to, halfway through, my college career. And I know here in a year or two, I'm going to be done with football. So then all of a sudden I'm thinking, okay, like what's the next big thing? And I'm like, man, when I graduate, when I have a little bit of money, because I'm going to be an officer in the Navy, I'll be making some money. I'm like, maybe I can figure out a way to use that money to buy my own sports car or muscle car or something like that. So when I graduated in 2010, my first car I bought was a Dodge Challenger SRT8, which at that time was like a newer car. They had just came out with the Challengers. They came out in 2008, I believe. I got it in 2009. And I bought that car and I was like, okay, this is like my first, car that's going to bring me into this car enthusiast world. And as I started going into that world, I started modifying it, hanging out with different car clubs, doing car people things. And then that took me towards going to the track. I was like, let me go to the drag strip and just see what this thing can do in a quarter mile. And you start running at the drag strip, you're having a lot of fun. And that was really cool. From 2010, 11, 12, even most of 13, I was doing a lot of drag strip racing and stuff. And it finally got to a point in 2013 where I was like, you know what? Like, what if I, do something a little bit different in this world? I like going fast in a straight line, but why not learn how to go fast around corners, right? So I started going to road course tracks and then learning how to drive around these corners and be better at, being faster at driving around corners. So did that for a little bit. And I'm like, wow, this is really fun. Why not try to take this to a whole next level? Why not try to figure out how to be a pro racer? Like, I didn't figure out the NFL thing, but why not try to become a pro NASCAR driver or IMSA driver or, whatever driver? And I didn't know which realm to go, which series that I was going to try to go after. I just knew I wanted to just be a pro driver, period. But the NASCAR route was the first route that eventually opened up for me.
Okay. And before I pretend to know anything about the NASCAR, okay, the only thing I know about NASCAR is I watched a movie called Talladega Nights, the tale of Ricky Bobby.
Yeah.
I know the French driver Jean Girard, but again, it's a fictional story, obviously.
Yeah.
So if I understand it correctly, Jesse, so NASCAR has 3 different divisions, right? And you sort of have to come up through the ranks as normal.
Yeah.
So did you start at the bottom and then kind of slowly came up, or how did that process work?
Yeah, so it actually has more than 3. Three at the national level.
Okay.
But below that, you have your ARCA series, which is like one step below the national series in NASCAR. Below ARCA, you have like your late model series, which is your NASCAR kind of weekly series, right? Your local tracks, wherever they are, that do racing every week or two or whatever. So you start at that lowest level and you slowly work your way. And even before that, you have go-karts and Legends cars and Bandoleros and all that stuff, like stuff for kids or whatever. But I started at the late model level because I had went to a car show, a car show for Mopars. And I didn't have my Challenger at the time. It was at the shop being fixed, but I still went to the show because I told myself I wanted to go there and network with people. Not for like racing purposes, just to network and whatever, meet people. So I'm there and I ended up meeting somebody who was racing late model stock cars. And he like invited me to go do a test with his team because he just, from like talking to me, he's just like, man, you seem like a person who looks interested in getting into racing. He just could feel it. And I was like, man, yeah, you have good intuition. Yeah, I do. And he was like, you know what, come test a late model, stock car. And I went and tested that with his team. And this was in May of 2014. And when I did, that's when I realized, you know what, I want to go down this route of becoming a pro driver. And this late model is kind of cool. Why don't I just go down the NASCAR route? And I just fully committed at that point. I'm going to become a NASCAR driver. And from there, I still had a deployment to go on. So this was in May of 2014. I went on my next deployment, which was July or August or so of 2014. And I was on that, like I said, I was on the deployment for about 5 months. But during that time on the deployment, anytime I had any free time, right, I'd go do my watch, I'd do my daily jobs, whatever. And anytime I had some free moments, I was constantly thinking and researching and writing notes on like how I was going to make this NASCAR dream happen, how I was going to find sponsorship and figure out just a way to fund this thing and make it work. And I came up with some business ideas on how to start my own business and make money from that to help me in the racing. I figured out how to create sponsorship decks. I did all this stuff. Every time we pulled into a port, whenever I have a free day off of duty or whatever, I go get a hotel room and I sit in the hotel room and just grind and just like figure out, okay, planning and all. I just figure out everything I could, especially when I had cell phone service at the ports. And through all that, on that deployment, I was able to kind of map out my journey and map out how I was going to start a business to help earn extra income to help this. And when I came back from that deployment in basically late 2014, early 2015, I began the journey of getting into NASCAR.
Okay. So the first level, wherever you started, right? And then do you have to kind of keep doing well and finish at a certain time or like a position, and then you kind of get bumped to like the next level, or how does that work typically?
Probably how it should work.
Oh, okay, it doesn't work like that.
No, in motorsports it's kind of weird. So being able to move up to the next level and stuff like that doesn't necessarily mean that you are, the best racer and you are winning every single race. That doesn't mean, because if that was, there's people who win all the time who never make it to the top. It's not necessarily that. Obviously, being a good driver and being competitive and doing well is obviously very important, but also having the right funding to do it. Unfortunately, racing is very expensive. So even if you're a really, really good driver, if I have a team at the top level of NASCAR, right, and I'm paying all these bills to make things happen, I see this really good driver, and I'm like, man, I would love to have this driver, but if he or she doesn't have any funding to make this happen, whether it's coming from them or some sponsorship, how am I going to put them in a car to go race? Because it costs me, X amount of thousands, like 100, 200, 300, whatever thousand per race to go race. Somebody has to pay that bill. And no matter where you finish, usually you're not winning enough money from your finishing position to pay for those costs. So somebody has to make that money up. Plus, you got to have some extra to eventually profit, right? We're like, no one can break even forever. You'll just it doesn't work. So unfortunately, in racing, it's a kind of pay to play sport, and everyone's dealt with it. Where is your parents funding it? You're funding it out of your own pocket. Your business is funding it, or you find sponsorship. That's it.
So that just opens up like this entire new set of questions that I have now, because now, you could be, like you said, you could be like the best driver in the world, but if you don't have funding, and presumably at this time you did not have as much of a funding. You were still talking about that. I was
an officer in the Navy and making okay money, but not enough to pay for racing regularly.
So funding, so that's where I guess probably the entrepreneurial side of you came out, right? Can you talk about like how you were able to secure funding and how you were able to get sponsors?
Yeah, so to secure funding, you gotta be a professional salesman, basically. There's no schooling for it. It's just honestly, it's just learning how to develop relationships with the people that you're talking with, so that they can help fund you. A lot of times it's not necessarily, the information that you are providing. It's not the decks you're creating. A lot of times it's just a relationship. Somebody just likes you. So they're like, we like you, so we're going to do this with you. It's very interesting. So a lot of times it's not even what you know, it's who you know. And who you know, you got to go find those people so you can know them and develop a good relationship so that eventually they can help you. So finding funding is not easy. There's not enough of it out there, but it is out there, and it does come. Sometimes it comes for a little bit of time. Sometimes it comes for a long time. But it's something that it just takes a long time to develop, and you got to figure out what works for you, right? Like you have something that you can sell, and figure out what that is and maximize that, right? For me, my story of me going from Navy to NASCAR, like that was my story, right? That's what made me important to the companies that have been, able to, sponsor my racing and do all that stuff. They're like, hey, this is awesome that this guy who served this country, who's a service member, is, chasing this dream in NASCAR. Like that's a great story, and they could get behind that because for them it helps amplify what they're doing. So having something that makes you important in whatever realm, like you got to use that. When the first females to get into the higher levels of NASCAR and stuff, like that was their story, right? Being the first female, being the first this, being the first whatever, like all that stuff makes that person important. So run with it, right? Run with it as long as you can. It won't last forever, but run with it. Some people, what makes them cool is maybe their looks. I don't know. Maybe it's their following on social media. They have 1 million followers or something like that. So that makes them important. So that's their thing. Run with that. So everyone has something different. Like me, it was me being the military guy racing in NASCAR, right? There's some other guys now coming up. That's their story too. They're the military guys too, right? So we're different because there's not 1,000 military guys racing in NASCAR. There's like a few, like two, I think, 2 or 3 maybe. Yeah, like it's not, there's not much. So whatever your story is that makes you important, run with that. But if you don't have something that makes you important, you better figure out a way to make something that makes you important, right? Okay. Biggest thing is obviously having a following, right? You need to have eyeballs that you can get those eyeballs to look at your sponsors so that your sponsors can hopefully leverage that. If you don't have eyeballs on you, it's gonna be hard for people to sponsor you. No company's out there to just sponsor your dreams and just make your dreams happen. They don't. Why do they need it? Like, if I have a company, I'm trying to make money and make ends meet. I'm not here to go make your dreams come true. Like, now, if by me making your dreams come true, it helps me make more money or get more business or whatever, then great. But if not, then it doesn't work, right? So businesses are businesses. So people looking for sponsorship and stuff, they have to understand that. Like, just because you're getting into some motorsport or this and that, you're doing whatever, no one is here to just build your dream. They don't give a crap. Like, they don't. Like, so you got to have something that you offer to them, and when you come to them, you got to offer that, right? It similar to dating, right? Like, if you go meet a girl, or if you're a girl meeting a guy, whatever it is, like, whoever you're meeting and you're trying to eventually be with, like, if you don't have some value that you're offering them, they're probably not going to be with you. No one wants to save you,
right?
So like, you got to have some value you bring to them that they see as, okay, you are leveling up my life, so that's why I want to be with you.
Life is a sales cycle, right?
It is everything.
Every day, everything is sales.
Transactions all day long.
So one of the point that you talked about earlier, part of the conversation. So you were watching Emmitt Smith on TV as you're growing up, I guess, right? Around the time as a Hall of Famer, NFL player. You ended up landing a business partnership with him.
Yeah.
How did that come about?
Yeah. So it was crazy that, who would have ever thought that in 1999, as I'm beginning my football career, I'm watching Emmitt Smith, number 22, and then all of a sudden, 22 years later, I'm meeting and forming a partnership with, so that I could start a racing team with them in 2022. Like, who would have ever known that was going to happen? It's just crazy how the world just works. For him, it's awesome that he did what he did in the NFL. He became the leading rusher. Still today no one's beaten his record. He's stayed clean. He hasn't been part of scandals and issues and things. He's just been someone who's always been good in the public eye. He's done everything he's supposed to do, and he continues to do things that he's supposed to do. So partnering with someone like that, I can learn so much from him, absorb so much from him. And then he's somebody who, he doesn't need the spotlight. He doesn't need anything. He's already done it all. So for him, he's now in a place where he can hopefully, let some of the light that he's had, shine on some others, And I want to be in that position one day where I can, whatever light I have, let it shine on others and help them get to where they want to go. I am doing that right now. I'm not saying I'm like some massive personality, but the attention I have been able to get and the things I've been able to get, I've been able to pass along tips, hints, tricks, whatever it is, to people who are coming up the ranks so that they can try to get to wherever I am or get to wherever they're trying to go. And it has helped them. It's really cool to see that some of the people I've helped are at way better levels now, doing amazing things. And I just want to keep on doing that, because at the end of the day, I'm working on building my skyscraper, right? We're in the city. I'm building this massive skyscraper. That's what I'm working on. But skyscrapers are cool. But what's even better is when you help others around you so you can build a skyline.
Yeah. And not only that, Jesse, and I was able to, again, kind of go through your profile and try to see like what else you have been up to. And I saw a touching tribute, and you were helping out like the Gold Star families and things like that. Is there a particular organization that you're sort of doing that through, or is it like simply through your business, or how are you doing that? How are you helping out the families of the military?
Yeah, so I've done since I gotten into racing, I've done a lot of different things with a lot of different organizations out there. PB a Body right now is one big one, and when I first started, it was the Phoenix Patriot Foundation. But a lot of different organizations over the years I've done, whether it's with my racing team, outside of it, whatever it is, I've been part of a lot, done what I can to help a lot, because I have a platform that I continue to build, and why not use it to help others, right? Even going to the racetrack, we've done things where we've brought different vets to the racetrack. I remember at Dover, we did some pace car rides with some former Navy SEALs and Spec Ops people. Just all that kind of stuff is super cool, an opportunity to kind of find a way to use what I have and where I'm at to give back to these people and provide them experiences and cool things that maybe they would have never gotten before. But it's our way to say thank you for everything they've done and all their service, right? There's veterans out there who are going through a lot of different things, and I've been part of different organizations to help give them things that help level up their life, like cars and vehicles and stuff. We just recently did something with TrueCar last year, which we did that. So all of these things are just ways that I try to use my platform to help others out there. And that's all I can do, right? Like I'm not, some mega billionaire where I can just go, donate billions of dollars. But like I have something that I'm at and I'm doing that not a lot of people can get to. So I'm finding ways to carve some of it out and be able to give it to people or give them the chance to experience it just like me. And I'll keep doing that, as much as I can every single year, wherever I can.
Yeah, more power to you. And again, it's incredible what you've done. For the families, and we certainly hope that you keep doing that and help out people. I do want to go back to the probably like the early struggle when you were an entrepreneur. I mean, probably countless emails. How many precisely? I probably don't remember. Probably right? Thousands. So
thousands. I need to go back and look. I need to go to my sent box. And just go look and be like, how many emails was I sending out, especially in the early days?
Reminds me of this, and obviously, you probably got a lot of rejections, maybe probably no responses most of the time. If they, I send out messages all the time for a lot of folks, and they leave me at scene. If you're seeing on Instagram, things like that. Rejection is a part of the journey, right?
Oh, yeah.
And this is where I think of the. I don't know if you've seen this, but Josh Allen, when he was playing for this college in Central California, I think that's where he was. He sent out thousands of emails. Like he sent out videos and whatever he had, and he said, "Coach, I think I would be a good fit," right? And 1,000 emails, and he didn't get like a lot of responses until like there was a response that finally came through, and it just propelled his career.
Yeah.
So anything to add to the entrepreneur struggles? Like, was there anything else that you did that really helped you?
One big thing I'll say to everyone is life rewards those who stay strong enough, long enough. Josh Allen, a lot of people, if you look at all these stories, there's no real such thing as like an overnight success. Anybody who maybe quickly came up on a lot of success, money or whatever, it just happened real quick, usually it doesn't last, right? Like, think about construction, right? The higher you want to go, right, when you're building your skyscraper, you're building this stuff, the higher you want to build a building. This is real life stuff. The higher you want to go, the deeper you're going to have to dig. And that is absolutely true. You can build a big building that's super tall with a very small foundation, and it'll probably stand up at first, but the moment there's a storm that comes in, there's wind, there's this and that, whatever it is, that earthquake, it's toppling over. So overnight, there is no overnight. Like you can't just make it happen one day. Like you got to dig deep. And as you're digging and digging and digging and digging, that foundation that you're building, like the deeper you go into the earth, you hit harder rock. It gets colder. You start finding things that you don't want to find. You start finding things about yourself. It gets dark. It gets difficult. It gets rough. But in order to go super high, you got to dig deep. That's what I do. So yeah, you got to send out those emails. You got to reach out on calls. You got to prospect, and you will get denied. You will be ignored, but you got to keep coming back to the table every single day. Like you cannot give up. That's the whole faith thing, right? Faith is you seeing the vision and the goal of where you're supposed to be and what you're supposed to become. You saw it in the beginning, right? That's why you started the journey. Nobody just starts a journey if they didn't see clearly that they were going to make it somewhere. Like I envisioned myself becoming a pro race car driver. This person envisioned themselves becoming a CEO. They envisioned themselves becoming an NFL quarterback. They envisioned themselves becoming a firefighter, this and that, whatever it is, a president of the United States of America. They saw it. Like God put that in their mind. So once you see it, that means the deal's already done in the future. Now you got to put in the action every single day and then have the faith on the other side that whatever you saw is always still there. But what happens is once you start the journey, it goes completely pitch black, right? That's why I say the light at the end of the tunnel, because there's no light in the tunnel. They never say the light is at the front of the tunnel or in the middle or throughout the tunnel, right? When these tunnels we go through, there's no lights hanging. It's always at the end, and you're not going to see it until you get to the end. So you're having faith the entire time that it is still there, and you got to put the action in, and that's what it takes. So people ask, how many emails do I got to send? How many people do I got to reach out to? How many events do I need to go to? Well, how many emails? As many as you have to. How many people do you got to call? As many you got to call. How many bench reps do I got to do? As many as you have to do. Like you just keep going, whatever it takes. Like that's what it is. Whatever it takes, you got to go do it. But when I say whatever it takes, you don't go to the dark side either, right? Don't sell your soul. Don't sell your your honor and and all that about you. Don't your dignity, like you don't compromise that, right? You just put action in, you have faith, and you keep going until the end. And the end is not quitting.
Hopefully your dark times have already been in the past, and hopefully you don't have to go through them again. But
they're still always there.
Yeah. So
they're still always there.
What takes, at least for you, what works for you? What do you typically do, or what have you done in the past which has helped you get through these dark times? Because people go through that all the time, right? So
dark times, they happen all the time. Like it's constantly a dark time. As long as you're continuing to grind and continuing to grow, you're going to continue to go through the dark times. There's times where there's a lot of uncertainty, where you don't know if the dream is going to come true. You don't know if the next goal is going to even happen. Like, you started working on it, but like, man, I don't even know if it's going to happen. But once again, you saw the vision clearly, so why would you quit? You're going, when you're heading to a mountain, way far from the mountain, you see the top. It's very easy to see the top. So, and you're going to go climb this mountain to get to the top. So you see it. Once you get to the bottom of the mountain, you can't see the top anymore. There's trees, there's bushes, there's cliffs, there's all these things. You can't see the top anymore. And then people start climbing, and they're like, they still can't see the top, and then they quit. Why did you quit? You already saw a long time ago that the top is there. And guess what? Going up is going to hurt. But going down a mountain, if anyone's ever tried it, it hurts just as bad. So why quit? You're already halfway up. You're already partway up. Just keep going and get something out of it, right? So during those dark times, that's where don't quit. It hurts just as bad to go back down as it does to keep on going up.
Sure. Okay. Well, speaking of Emmitt Smith and the Cowboys, you're from Texas. Mm-hmm. Cowboys fan?
I'm a Cowboys fan. Yep. We're going to the Super Bowl next year.
Sad to hear. Okay, well, that's what I have a lot of friends in Dallas, by the way. Mm-hmm. They tell me that thing every single year. Every single year. We're going to the Super Bowl and they crash out.
We're going to the Super Bowl.
Okay, I can see your heart in saying that, but what does your mind say? Like, what do you think is going on with the Cowboys?
You know what? I think this last year they had one of their better offensive years. I think Dak Prescott did a solid job running the team. He looked comfortable. He was getting the ball out there. He had two really, really good targets to throw to all year. I mean, two really, like, all the targets were good, but like two really, really good ones that just made his life easier. Having, the 88 and 3, like, I mean, they were crushing it. Now, running game was, I believe, okay, but I think could be better. I still think they need a super dynamic running back who can go put up, 1,300, 1,400 yards or something. You have someone like that comes in, and you have two really good wide receivers like CeeDee Lamb and Pickens. That offense is going to take off even more. Obviously, you got to protect the quarterback, right? So every team, if you want to have a good team, you got to invest in your offensive line. You got to invest in your defensive line. Like, those are the two most important things. If you have an offensive line that will give your quarterback the most amount of time to throw every single time, even if your quarterback's halfway decent, they're going to make just way better throws. Knowing that no one's in their face, they can scan the defense, figure out where things are, they can get comfortable quicker in the game. They're going to be able to make great throws. On defense, if you have a good defensive line who can stuff the run really good, but then also on passing situations, the quarterbacks don't have that much time, and they have somebody getting after them every single play. Like, the rest of your defense doesn't even have to play that good. Like, your DBs can be so-so, your linebackers can be so-so if your D-line are just making sure that nothing is really, the running game isn't there and the passing game is so hard to get the ball off. You will win so many games. That's why it's so crazy when I see teams invest all this money in all these, ancillary positions when all the money should be invested in the core. If you have the best offensive line in the game and the best defensive line in the game, everybody else can just be decent. As long as they just play their roles and their assignment and play assignment football, you will win a lot of games.
I think Seahawks had a pretty. I mean, obviously they won the Super Bowl because of that precise reason. Would you think? Would you agree that they had the probably? I mean,
their defensive pass rush didn't give the Patriots any kind of time at all. So then it makes it so much easier for the DBs. The DBs are like, hey, like, I don't have to cover for 5-6 seconds now. Now I only got to cover for like 3.5. Because Like the defensive, like I just got to do, a couple little shuffles back and then boom, break on a ball. That's it. I'm not having to sit there and cover for days, and then leaving, people are getting open. I'm getting tired, all that stuff. Like if routes can't develop because the D-line is just getting after it, it doesn't matter what the offense does, they're now they're getting sacked, they're getting put in positions where now it's like a 2nd and 15 or 3rd and 15 or something like that. Now the defense knows exactly what you're going to go do, and now they can get after you even more. So it's just like these things just continue to compound. So if you have the best O-line and D-line in the game and everybody else just plays assignment football, you will win a lot of games.
Okay. So we'll probably circle back maybe next year and have a conversation again.
Oh, the thing is, people don't do that. They're like, oh, let's go invest all this money in a corner or a safety or a run, this and that. And it's like you're investing all this money in people that, like, everyone in the NFL at the skill positions are really good. But if you just give them room to do what they need to do by having good O-line and D-line, they look like all-stars.
So coming back to NASCAR, are you actively driving right now?
Yeah, I race part-time, so I don't race every race. So whatever races we have sponsorship for, that's the ones that I'm typically running in.
Okay. I know that there's a couple ventures that you're running. I forgot the what is it called? There's a page called the Red something. I apologize.
Red List. Yeah.
Yeah. Could you talk about this a little bit?
Yeah. So that business I'm doing a lot of stuff with, but mainly motorsports related, and then one side of it, which is way different, is the government contracting side of it. I've been working on different stuff in real estate investing and a lot more. So I've been working on this for 10 years, it's over 10 years now. And the motorsports side was how it started, putting on drag racing events. I've been putting on events for like over 10 years now. This is the 11th year now. We've done probably 40 to 50 events now, and they've all gone pretty well. The community has grown. We're continuing to put these events on. People are having fun. They're bringing all different kind of cars to the track. And it's a way to get people off the streets from racing into the tracks racing, right? So, me putting on these events a few times a year, people scratch that itch of wanting to race. When you don't have events or events that people want to go to, then they're like, I want to race, I want to go fast, and then just go on the streets and the highways and do it, where you're putting yourself in harm's way, you're putting other drivers and pedestrians and people like that in harm's way. So if you have enough events at the track and people have something to go to and get that out of their system, we hopefully are reducing the risk of people who are on the public roads. Okay,
and is Jesse Iwuji Sports a part of that network?
No, Jesse Iwuji Motorsports is not. No, okay. Jesse Iwuji Motorsports is all our NASCAR stuff, completely separate, two sides of the country. Jesse Iwuji Motorsports is East Coast.
Oh, okay.
Red List stuff is West Coast and in Texas and everything. So, but yeah, I'm all over. My businesses are like all over the country, so that's why I'm all over too as well.
Okay.
I mean, even I'm doing stuff in Japan too. I've been to Japan 9 times in the last couple years now. Doing a lot of, mainly doing like YouTube content and Instagram content, car related things, all that stuff. There's a dealership out there. I've helped them sell cars and stuff to people who want their cars. But doing the car guy dream when I go out there.
Okay, so any interest in the F1 side of things, or is that
F1's cool? I just never really dove into that world. It's like real fancy, and like I don't know, I just
never know, Jesse. Like 2 years from now, I mean, you'll be like, I see this headline where it says Jesse Iwuji signs for Renault or whoever.
The tough part is like it's really really expensive. And it's such a young person's game in that world that like it's a bit late for me to start there. Not that I couldn't go do other kinds of open wheel racing, but it's just that one.
The Formula 1 is.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. It's not.
It's a different animal.
Yeah, way different animal.
Yeah,
and way more closed off. NASCAR is like nice. The cool thing, NASCAR is America, right? It's open. It's if right now you feel like, you know what, I have the funds and the ability to go put together a team, put together a car within the rules, and go out and race. You can go do that. Obviously you got to get all your licensing and all that stuff, but you can go do that. You can go field a car, and if it does well, you're in the game. You can't just go do that in F1. You can't just be like, I'm gonna go start a team. But that's the cool thing about NASCAR. It's very entrepreneurial, America, capitalism. Like it's all that in one. It's like, if you think you can do it, come do it. Right. And if, you're either going to make it in the race or you're not going to make it in the race. If you don't, you're going home. That's it. But you can try again the next week. So I love how open it is so that anyone can try to figure out a way to get in. It's still not easy. Like, I mean, you can't just, even though if you decide right now you want to go start a team, that's a lot of money, right? It's not easy. So, but if you can figure it out and put it together, try.
Yeah. And in that realm, you don't have a lot of, African-American drivers in NASCAR. And I know there's select few, right? Probably 2 or 3. Is there any pathway for a lot of people to kind of come through so that we have like a lot more? Because if I think of like NASCAR, whenever I think of NASCAR, I think of predominantly, you don't see a lot of mixed race people in there.
Yeah.
So how could that change, or does that really even matter, to be honest with you?
Yeah, so it's getting better, right? I think there's more people of color, different genders and stuff coming in. Obviously Bubba Wallace is at the top level of NASCAR. LeVar Scott's racing in the NASCAR O'Reilly Auto Parts Series. Raja Caruth as well is running that. I can't remember if he's running trucks too as well, but he's running O'Reilly Auto Parts Series in NASCAR. And then Armani Williams, and who else? Brad Perez. There's a few people who are, and if I'm forgetting some other people, it's just because I can't think of them at the moment. But a few people definitely are, working on it, and we have this Hispanic people as well, some Asians as well too, Japanese drivers. So a few different people from all different kind of walks of life. Females, of course, too, as well, racing in different series. I think we have females racing in all 3 different series. So it's definitely opening up more. It wasn't ever closed off. It was just hard to obtain when you don't have it exposed to you that much, and you don't have the means to get there. Like even if just because you're African American or whatever else, if you don't grow up with enough funding to make it happen, how are you going to make it happen? If your parents you're working all these jobs doing this and that, they can't afford to get you in the go-karts and do this, and it's just a lot of money. So I don't think it was ever closed off to people of color and things like that because it was closed off for them. No, it wasn't that. I think it was just there were a lot of people who were interested in, who were people of color, but they just didn't have the means to get there. So now as time has gone on, the more people have the means, more people are getting into it some more. So yeah, it's I think it will continue to grow in that way.
Okay, and I think you being there and Bubba Wallace and the others, I think that's an inspiration for the next generation. But also, I personally, to be honest with you, learned so much about NASCAR just today because it's such a very heavy funding aspect of things, which I didn't really quite understand.
All motorsports is like that.
Right.
It's just very expensive. And, it's just expensive. And it literally got hundreds of thousands of dollars sometimes per race.
Yeah.
You're doing 30 plus races a year.
Yeah,
it's a lot.
I tried to understand this a little bit better. So whenever I've seen, the videos of NASCAR racing, I feel it's a bit of a miracle that how close these cars are and there's not a wreck or, I think there was an incident with Ty Gibbs, which I understand is a gentleman, is a young driver, is probably like at the top of the game. And there was an incident with you, which you got in some ways like criticized for. Again, I couldn't really understand that. From your perspective, can you tell us like what exactly happened?
Yeah, so in 2022 we were at Portland International Raceway. We were racing. It was a rain race, so like most of the race it was raining, and by the end it started drying up. But there was an incident where I accidentally hit Ty Gibbs during a caution. And under caution is when the yellow is out and we're all going slow to get lined up again before we restart. Because there was an incident, someone had crashed or something had happened, and that's why they had to slow us down so they can fix the issue and then we can keep going. So I, at that time, where I was running at the field, the caution comes out and Ty Gibbs, who was leading the race, was behind me. He was almost about to lap me. So he had lapped some other people. He was about to lap me.
Are you allowed to, by the way?
Yeah, you can lap someone. Yeah. So I was about to get lapped, which wasn't good, but it was just I was having a terrible day. So anyways, he was about to, but then he didn't. The yellow comes out. So once the yellow comes out, you're not allowed to pass anyone. And he, accidentally just not paying attention passed me. So at that point, I'm sitting right behind him under the caution, but I need to now pass him back and get back around the field and back behind everybody. Well, he's in front of me, and once again, I told like it was raining, right? So he was like trying to keep his tires warm. He's trying to stay out of the puddles. He was like moving back and forth, just trying to, kind of do all this stuff. And we're going up the front stretch, and the NASCAR officials were telling my spotter, my crew chief, hey, Jesse needs to get around him and get back around the field so that they can restart. And I was like, my spotter and my crew chief were telling me that. So I'm like, okay, cool. Like I'll go, but I need to get around Ty at first because he keeps on like, going back and forth. And he's not obviously getting the same message. He's probably talking to his crew, talking to his team about strategy and things like that. He's not getting the same message. So I'm trying to wait for the right opportunity where, okay, he's out of the way and I can finally go by him. We're going up the front stretch of the track and we're going into turn 1. We're still under caution. And right before we're getting to turn 1, he moves up towards the left side of the track on the far wall. And at that point, I'm thinking, okay, maybe NASCAR started getting on him saying, hey, move out of the way so this guy can go. So I'm like, oh, he just moved out of my way. We're all the way against the inside wall on the right. He moves up over here. I'm like, perfect. Let me go now. I start going. What I didn't realize, he only did that so that he could make a big wide arc and come back down to turn right on. So just miscommunication. I saw him move out of the way. I'm thinking it's time to go. I'm being told, I'm literally getting yelled at now, go, go, go. Like, we got to get around. I'm like, I can't. This guy is in my way. He moves. I'm like, oh, he's out of my way. Time to go. And then I go. And then he comes back down. And then we just literally meet at the same place. Perfect timing, but terrible timing. He ends up getting spun, obviously, because I hit him. Thank God I didn't hit him that hard. I mean, I hit him hard enough to spin, but we're in rain, so like it's easier to spin. But it didn't do like any crazy damage to his car, thankfully. A little bit of damage on my car. But then it was terrible. Like I now hit someone under caution. And unfortunately, the broadcast only showed the last part as I'm hitting him. They did not show any of the radio communication where I'm being told, go, 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 you need to go, you need to go. So they didn't show everything leading up to it so that people could clearly see, oh, this is probably what happened. Clearly, this guy moved out of the way. He thought he could go. He starts going. He comes back down, and then they meet at the same place. They didn't show that. All they showed was us meeting at the same place, and then they just left it at that. And then all of a sudden, obviously a lot of critiques online. But at that same time, too, at that same timing, for whatever reason, there was a lot of people who I guess didn't like Ty Gibbs that much either because of some things that have happened in some other race. He's a very, very nice guy, super nice. If you meet him in person, super nice. So for people hating on him, no one should ever hate on him. He's a very cool dude. He's a hard racer. He races hard, but very cool dude. I guess there's a lot of people that didn't like him at the time. So I ended up gaining like a few hundred followers because of it. Because they thought I intentionally hit him. I didn't intentionally hit him. This is all just miscommunication, like just terrible timing for everything. And so I gained a few hundred followers. I also had a lot of people sending me hate mail too, but whatever. But anyways, I called Ty literally the next day. We spoke about it. I'm pretty sure he ended up still winning the race or something. And we talked and we were good. He was fine. Like he fully understood because I explained what happened. He was like, oh yeah, that makes sense now. We've talked since then and we're cool. We're good. Like no issues there. But there's still some people out there who think I intentionally hit him. I'm like, why would I just intentionally take this dude out? But the crazy thing is that the crowd even went crazy. Like they actually stood up and were like, yeah, because there's a lot of people, like I said, didn't really like him. So they went crazy. I'm like, dude, I did not purposely just hit this dude. I was told to go. I had a clear view to go. He moves out of my way. I'm going, he comes back down, and then we hit, like I'm not blaming him for it because he didn't realize that I needed to go. I went and I should have started seeing him come down quicker, but it was terrible timing. Unfortunately, it was too late, too little too late. So yeah, that's what happened.
So yeah, no, I mean, I tried to watch a few commentaries on what exactly. I tried to understand because I don't.
Everybody got it wrong because everyone
looks like it.
They didn't. People just want to jump on the most negative thing they can talk about.
Yeah,
and that's what they did. I didn't even there's some shows that were just it's just stupid. It's anyways, luckily once again, no one got hurt. Yeah. No cars got seriously damaged. I did get penalized though, because you're not supposed to hit anyone.
What was the penalty? What was the?
I think I lost a lap or two.
Okay.
I had to sit in the pits for at least a lap or something. So it was yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But anyways, like I said, me and Ty are good. I talked to him the next day. It wasn't a fight or anything. We talked and I'm like, yo, dude, hey, this is what happened. So I'm super sorry. And he was like, yeah, dude, it's all good. It happens. And he thanked me at the end of the call. He literally he was like, dude, thank you for calling me. Most people aren't man enough to do that. And I'm like, well, I'm older than you, so I'm probably a little bit more man than most of these other guys. But yeah, he was cool. And since then, like I said, we're cool.
Yeah.
We actually talked about it again last year, like just randomly. We had seen each other at this event, and I was like, dude, once again, sorry for that incident. He's like, dude, it's all good, like no issues, like, and I'm like, okay, cool.
All right. No, I mean, I saw like one video that said like, what was Jesse Iwuji thinking?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I have to look at like what they're talking about. So I think that's probably what it was.
No one actually, well, and can I blame everyone? I don't know, because once again, the media only showed a small clip. They did not show everything leading up to it, which would have clearly shown how it even occurred. They just showed the one clip. So all they had to go off of was like, oh, I just hit this dude. I'm like, but why in the world would I just straight up run this guy down? Like, it doesn't make any sense. He didn't do anything to me. Like, I didn't do anything to him. Like, it's just miscommunication.
Happens, yeah. So what's next for Jesse? Obviously you have your ventures. Have you thought of any new ventures, or is it whatever you have right now, you're just going to continue?
What I have right now, I'm just continuing, right? I have an esports company too as well that we put on sim racing events. We sell sim racing gear. So people who want sim racing gear in their house to, drive on a sim at home, we sell that stuff. It's called E-Racing Association. We put on events too so that people can compete and win money. Like I said, I do real estate investing and government contract stuff. I had a trucking business for a while, but recently kind of got out of that because I wanted to put more energy into some of the other businesses. Unfortunately, like trucking side of things was just in a very weird place. And I was like, let me get out of this so I don't lose.
Trucking as in the
semi-trucks.
The semi-trucks. Okay.
Yeah. I didn't want to like lose like any major money or anything. So I just saw it like it's just not making as much money as it was, like especially 2020, 2022. It was doing pretty good. 2020 through 2022 was doing pretty good. But then it just started falling off. And I'm like, you know what, let me just back out to something else that could lead to better opportunities. So, and I still put on the motorsports events. Obviously, we still race NASCAR part-time. And whatever I can get into that looks promising, I try to see if there's possibilities there.
Yeah, okay. Navy does give you or offer you a lot of discipline, right? Do you think you have applied whatever you learned when you were actively in the Navy or in that period? Do you apply that to your entrepreneurial life, you think?
Yeah, so I do. Yeah, you have to, right? Finding a way to regiment your schedule, being strict with your schedule, understanding, hey, these are the hours I have right now to work and maximizing it, organizing your days, figuring out ways to negotiate with people so that, you can make things happen the way you want them to happen, and everybody wins. It's all stuff you learn in the military. Being able to, get through the hard times, right? Like sometimes you're given a little and you got to make a lot out of it. And there's a lot of crap you got to deal with on the way. So this is all stuff you learn in the military to get by with. So, for me, yeah, a lot of things I've learned in the military I have applied to the entrepreneur world. I've applied it to my NASCAR racing. I've applied it to everything else in life so that I could, be here standing healthy and, ready to keep working.
Okay. And to close off, Jesse, again, I certainly appreciate your time. We have a lot of aspiring entrepreneurs that are, coming through the ranks. And what would be like one message? I know you talked about these a little bit earlier as well, but what would be one message that you would want to tell them, being a successful entrepreneur that you have been? What would you tell them?
You know what? One message I would tell entrepreneurs on their way up is, kind of like the process I've described really this whole entire podcast is, one, have the vision, right? Have a vision, clearly seeing where you're supposed to go, what you're supposed to become. After you have that vision, you have to insanely and obsessively believe that it's possible. Like obsessively, no matter what anyone tells you, you are obsessed that this will happen. You literally are crazy insane, like this is going to happen no matter what. Then after you have that, you now have to be willing to take the steps to put actions towards it every single day, every single week, whatever you can do. You keep putting actions to try to build up this brick house, whatever it is. And then as you're building it, it's going to get dark. It's going to get cold. There's going to be uncertainty. But that's when you have to have the faith that the vision, the obsessiveness you have with it, and the action are all going to make this thing come true. And then by the end, it will actually happen as long as you don't quit. Just do not quit. Even if you feel like quitting, just go to sleep, wake up the next day, and everything is going to be okay. Even a broken clock is right twice a day. So just keep grinding, keep putting effort towards it, and it will happen. And along the way, as you're building that skyscraper, help everyone around you so you can build a skyline. You follow those steps right there, you will accomplish many, many things in life.
All right. Jesse, I certainly appreciate your time. And again, good luck with all your ventures. And thank you for teaching so much about NASCAR. I'm going to try to watch a few races, try to learn a little bit more about the sport. And I think, hopefully our audience will have more interest in NASCAR as well.
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah, it's a fun sport to watch. It's more than people just driving in circles. There's strategy. It's hard. It's not easy. You're driving in vehicles that going 150, 160, 190, 200 miles per hour next to 38, 40 people, and it's hard. It's not easy.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Jesse.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.